Hey everyone, this is the Week 10 wrap-up. Let's do it. In last week's Game of the Week, I crushed that square-wheel car-driving Canadian Al by nearly doubling his score, keeping me in the playoff hunt and him slipping a game to Dan with two other teams right on his heels trying to steal his playoff spot. Last week, Dan Hermes continued his shit-talking ways as he told Dan Drury there'd be some Dan-on-Dan crime happening this week. The only problem for Dan Hermes is that Dan Drury ended up being the perpetrator and Dan Hermes ended up being the victim, as Dan Drury ended up topping him 156 to 124. Also, I love that Dan got in the last laugh on the message boards, doing what most people can't, and that is shutting Dan Hermes up. Also on the message boards this week, and also with Dan Hermes, there's a lot of talk about how Cam Newton was now back home and he would all of a sudden be what he was 2 years ago, and that Flight Ace Boogie would all of a sudden take off and soar through the skies. The only problem is that Flight Ace Boogie must have been grounded because he continued to look like shit and he continued to suck, and that is not good for Dan's future if he hopes to make a playoff run. And Dan mentions chocolate cake sucks. Okay, psychopath. Switching gears a little bit, taking a look at the standings, Wasco, Greg, probably out, but everyone else is in and right in it. I mean, even if you limp into the playoffs, your team can still get hot and win the championship. Don't forget that last year's championship sucked, and the final score was like 75 to 56. So once you're in, you have a chance. So just make sure you get in the playoffs. And now it's time for the Miller Lite bold prediction. In this week's Miller Lite Bowl prediction, I'm going to steal a line from Dan and say there will be some Kevin-on-Kevin crime this week. Kevin Drury is favored to win by 27 points over single Kevin, also known as Kevin Lucius, this week. I believe Kevin Lucius will actually get the win, so you can keep your 27 points ESPN spread. I'm going to take Kevin Lucius for the win. And that brings us to everyone's favorite segment, the Hy-Vee Game of the Week. This week's Game of the Week is going to go to Bouse and Kevin Drury. Both teams are 6-4, looking to hold on to their playoff spots, but there's a lot of teams only one game back trying to steal them from them, so may the best man win. My greatest observation from Week 10 is that the Packers are definitely going to the Super Bowl. And that's it for the Week 10 wrap-up. I'll see you guys in Week 11.